PlayStation is winning. No, not that ridiculous console war dribble. I'm just saying that PlayStation is winning in general. If you're more worried about which plastic box is better at playing games, then you probably have bigger things to worry about. What's up, everybody? This is Ambro with AMBG, and today we are going to be talking about the PlayStation as a brand and why it has been so successful over the years, and why it is still doing a great job today. As always, remember, if you liked the video, to give it a thumbs up, and you want to see more content like this and to support the channel, consider subscribing. I think one of the big reasons that PlayStation has been so successful over the years is that they are not afraid to experiment and innovate. While motion controls and things like that aren't exactly completely original, the fact that PlayStation had actually made the effort to make things like, for example, the PlayStation Move is a testament to that. And that willingness to change things up absolutely carries over into their software, into the games. You look at something like the recent God of War reboot from 2018. Now, God of War is an established franchise. It has been around since the early 2000s. Sony looked at that and they looked at the fan base for that game and they said, you know what, guys, we know that this game used to be a button masher, it used to be combos, used to be these big bombastic battles, and we're going to change that. We're going to change it to something that is an entirely different game design, and you're going to like it. And guess what? We did. God of War ended up being an absolute masterpiece for a lot of gamers out there. And with that move, they knew that they were going to piss off some of the longtime fans of the game that preferred the old style. But I think the end result speaks for itself. Another great example of this is actually the new PlayStation 5 exclusive Returnal from Housemarque. It's a dark, creepy roguelike. It's definitely unique and something that we haven't really seen out of Sony in a while. These are just a few examples of Sony's willingness to change things up, but I think another place that they do it is actually also within the hardware. While not all of PlayStation's peripherals have been overly successful from a sales perspective, they still exist, and people can see that Sony and PlayStation are trying to do something, and I think where they have found recent success is with the PlayStation VR. Up until PlayStation VR, virtual reality was thought of a medium that was only possible on PCs, and that has now been brought to the console space. Giving gamers the ability to play something in a specific medium like a virtual reality headset is a big deal. And this is something that we spoke a little bit about in the Xbox video, that giving people more options and more ways to play games is a good thing. Now you don't have to build a powerful PC to play virtual reality. While virtual reality isn't for every gamer for various reasons, whether it's due to motion sickness or you simply just don't like having the headset on, you prefer to just lay back on the couch, you don't want to move your body and be lazy, I get that. But I do think that it's something that every gamer should try at least one time. You know how when you were kids, your parents always told you, don't sit too close to the TV, it'll ruin your eyes. Well, I think we've disproven that fact. And the reason that we used to sit so close to TVs, or we still do to this day, is due to the fact that we want to be immersed in our games. And there's no medium for gaming that is more immersive than virtual reality. So the fact that Sony and PlayStation are now in the VR space is a huge positive. Kudos to Sony. Continuing on with the innovation discussion, another area that PlayStation has innovated on is with the DualSense Controller. While it's not as big of an adjustment as going from 2D to a virtual reality headset, it is still a pretty big leap in improving the immersion over standard vibration controllers. I do own a PlayStation 5 and I have used the DualSense controller in the very few games that currently support it, but from my personal experience, I do find that it actually does enhance that immersion factor. The way it feels different in your hand when you're running over a wood surface versus a grass or a damp surface. The way the trigger pushes back when you're pulling back a bow or anything like that. It seems small and it seems kind of silly, but it does actually add a little bit to it. If you know anyone with a PlayStation 5, ask to try out the Astrobot game that comes with the PlayStation and give it a go for yourself. It's not completely game-changing, but I do think that it adds something to the experience. Now, up to this point, we've spoken a lot about innovation and trying new things, but another thing that has made Sony and PlayStation so successful over the years is the fact that they stay the course and trust the process. They do the things that they know are going to work for them and appeal to their customers. And I'm sure you know where this conversation is going. Exclusives do mean something. Personally speaking, I think that you're going to see Sony change their stance on exclusives in the coming years. In fact, you're already seeing a little bit of that now with the fact that they're releasing older PlayStation 4 exclusives onto PC. Examples being Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone currently. I completely understand why they exist from a business perspective. It is meant to push the hardware and make you want to buy something. And we'll get onto that a little bit later on in the discussion. But what Sony has done in terms of the quality of the games that the first-party studios put out is frankly astounding. We spoke about this a little bit in the last video too, about the Xbox, but if you remember back at the beginning of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation, there really were not a lot of launch titles or exclusives for either platform. Both of them were just plastic boxes that played basically the same video games with minor differences. It wasn't until later on in the generation that we saw Sony's first-party studios starting to bear the fruits of their labor. Sony was playing the long game from the start. They gave their developers time, the resources, and space to do what they do best. They didn't buy into any fads, they didn't buy into any trends. They said, here you go, do what you will. While commercial success and sales don't define whether a game is good or bad, it still has meaning. And I think the success of a lot of the late generation games for Sony speak for itself. Now, whether or not linear story-based games are for you, or even Sony's particular brand of single-player games are for you, is exactly my point, is that Sony continued to be consistent with the types of games that they were putting out and what they wanted to do. Which really leads me into my closing argument as to why Sony and PlayStation are winning. And that is the fact that they have associated their brand with quality. I know that there has been a lot of controversy around raising the prices for games from $60 to $70, at least for US, especially during a lockdown where people have been losing their jobs. That kind of news doesn't go unnoticed. It simply doesn't matter. While their current strategy might not be the value proposition that Xbox Game Pass is offering, you still know what you're going to get out of Sony's first-party offerings. You know that when you see a title from Naughty Dog, it is going to have the utmost amount of polish. It's going to be well written, it's going to have some of the best animation work in the business, it's going to pull you in. The same thing can be said for some of the other amazing first-party studios like Insomniac or Sony Santa Monica. They are associated with quality. That is the key for PlayStation. That can really be applied to any product or service in general. There's a reason that you pay a premium for a higher quality product. It's because you know exactly what you're going to get. It's the consistency of it. It's the consistent quality and your return on investment. And with that consistent quality comes expectations. And the expectations got to the point where we knew that anytime a game came out of a first-party studio, we knew the type of quality and polish that it was going to have. Now, of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but you know what I'm saying. The sheer quality that was coming out of the first-party studios was so high that it actually forced Microsoft and Xbox to go out and make all these big acquisitions. It forced them to answer by making something as amazing as Game Pass. Ultimately, competition breeds excellence, and we as the gamers will reap all of the benefits. And that's frankly where I'm going to leave off on this series. While console wars and other fanboy wars in themselves are toxic and unneeded, the actual competition that exists between different companies and different brands is ultimately a good thing for us as the consumers. Sony and PlayStation have done a phenomenal job with their brand and their output over the years, and I can't wait to see what's in store for this generation. Sony Game Pass? We'll have to find out. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'd love to talk about this with you guys. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think that Sony is setting itself up for another monster generation? Or do you think that they are repeating a lot of the mistakes that they made during the PS3 era? Again, if you liked the video, remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to support the channel and see more content like this, consider subscribing. If there's anything else that you guys would like to see me cover, please let me know down in the comments or tag me on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, I will leave a link to my Twitter and my other social media accounts down below. Be sure to follow me on there. I'll catch you guys next time.